Good morning. I'm Abigail Hayes, coming to you from Raleigh, North Carolina.
And I'm Jack Leo in Grayson, Georgia. The fall semester could look different as educators prepare for teaching during the COVID pandemic. But first, we begin with a new way of attending NCSMI.
For the first time, the program shifts from on-campus to online. Shelby Swanson shows us the new format.
When the NCSMA Summer Institute was forced to go all online due to COVID-19, many students questioned how their NCSMI experience would change.
Well, it was a challenge when we first started thinking about how we would do this. It was definitely a challenge, but a lot of good people helped, and we're really fortunate.
However, one thing that has remained the same is the presence of enriching and educational speakers who have bettered the NCSMI experience for all students involved. This year's speaker was Adam Playford, a former NCSMA alum who shared his experience and travel from Riverside High School to the Tampa Bay Times. Playford began the press conference by discussing his transition from NCSMA student to investigative reporter.
And I've been assigned to be a reporter for one of the conference publications. One of the editors had just graduated, and she asked me why I hadn't thought about writing for the local newspaper. And I gotta be honest, I hadn't thought about it because I didn't even know you could do that as a high schooler. But she had done it and she encouraged me. And when I got back, I started writing for the Durham Herald Sun, and that kicked off my career.
Playford then transitioned to describing his most recent work covering Black Lives Matter protests in Tampa.
That reporter starts saying the crowd is changing. Some of the people talking about wanting things to stay peaceful had left. And some of the protesters who were still there are starting to throw fireworks, and police car windows are getting smashed.
The opportunity to learn from such an experienced reporter who has worked on very timely beats was something that really excited NCSMI organizer Monica Hill, who described it as a, quote, terrific highlight for today.
Thanks, Shelby. Even with the abbreviated format, officials say they are happy the program was able to continue this summer.
As hundreds take to the streets this summer in protest over the death of George Floyd, there are concerns COVID numbers could suddenly increase. Aiden Toole shows us how protesters are staying safe while spreading their message.
Many scientists are worried about the lack of social distancing occurring at the nationwide protest in response to the death of George Floyd. My take home here is that the additional infections driven by protests are likely currently small relative to the size of the U.S. epidemic, about a 3% to 6% increase above the estimated 100,000 daily infections in the U.S. One researcher from the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center, Trevor Bedford, estimates that protests will increase the number of infections in the United States by 3 to 6% every day. This can cause harm to many people and potentially put the nation back into an emergency state. The CDC is recommending that all protesters wear a mask. Have you been wearing a mask? And are there any other safety precautions you've been taking while protesting?
So when I go out to protest, I make sure that I wear a mask and I wash my hands or put hand sanitizer on when I leave the protest. And then while I'm at the protest, I also make sure that I don't get really close to people.
When you're at the protest, are there a lot of people wearing masks? And if there aren't, does that make you uncomfortable?
Almost everybody at the protest are wearing masks. So if there is somebody that's not wearing a mask, I don't get near them. But a lot of people are wearing masks because of both corona and in case you get tear gassed or maced or something.
Going into it, did you ever doubt going or maybe decide, it was worth the risk? What was kind of your process going into it?
I personally didn't really have an issue with the corona, like the doubt of that, but my friends definitely did. Like my friends definitely were worried about that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but personally, no, I wouldn't worry. Yeah.
With protesting and other summer events occurring all around the nation, we will soon find out how significant social distancing is to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. I'm Aiden Toole, and I'm reporting with NCSMI News.
Thanks, Aiden. Other states like California have encouraged protesters to get tested for COVID and self-isolate for 2 weeks.
From protests to summer travel, states are opening up and more people are getting out of their homes. But how will this impact students and teachers when school resumes in the fall? With the fall semester approaching, the main focus is whether students will be returning to campus for the 2021 school year. Governor Cooper has announced that school will begin on August the 17th. However, Wake County residents have much to say regarding the return to school.
My greatest concern is just making sure that all students are safe. making sure that we are following guidelines to first make sure of their physical safety, but the second would also be their social and emotional well-being.
We asked student athlete and student body president Raven Douglas at Millbrook High School what some of her concerns were for her senior year, and turns out the perspective doesn't change much.
I would say my biggest concern is just kind of getting back into the schedule, especially being an athlete and then being involved in the school. Your schedule is really hectic.
Safety protocol is the biggest apprehension with schools possibly going back in session. Will it exceed parents' expectations?
I just think minimizing contact is gonna be key.
Although everyone is eager to go back to school, the question still remains. Will the school year go back to what it was, or will online classes be the new normal for Wake County students? In Raleigh, I'm Abigail Hayes reporting to you from NCSMI News. While many schools and universities hope to be back on campus, administrators say they could go back to online learning. Usually in June, Major League Baseball is in full swing.
But this year, professional teams remain sidelined and their future is uncertain due to the pandemic. Tim Alonso explains what the lack of games could mean to the future of professional sports.
The COVID-19 pandemic continues to make its way around the globe. We've seen most professional sport leagues either cancel or postpone their seasons altogether.
I don't think it's 100% safe for sports to return, but I think how sports choose to return matters too.
The MLB season just keeps getting pushed back. There are no real plans to try and salvage a season yet. As of 2019, the MLB is a $10.7 billion industry per year, and the fans make up 40% of that if there was even going to be a season. But with no fans, they would still be losing a lot of their money. This is going to affect the way players are played, coaches are paid, and how their facilities are kept and how they can advertise. This is going to lead to problems for years to come.
The MLB just can't really reach an agreement with the players, and it's hard to do because there's so much money that they're offering the players, but they don't have any revenue because fans can't come to the stadiums and they can't sell any merchandise or any food or any of that stuff at the stadiums, which is how the MLB makes a lot of their money.
NFL is unsure whether or not they will even have a season. The first game would have been September 10th, but this has now been canceled. It was the middle of the season when the NBA was postponed, and now 3 months later we will see the return in about a month and a half. 22 teams are invited to Disney World in Orlando, Florida to play a shortened regular season and then a playoff. Teams will not be allowed to leave the Disney campus and will also have strict guidelines like health screenings before games, no fans or family at games as well. This is the first major sport to try and come back after COVID, and with all of us sports watching, let's hope this works out.
Thanks, Tim. Not only are professional sports hoping to return in some way this summer, college sports hope to take the field this fall as well.
So how did you feel about the summer program this year, Jack?
Abigail, I thought it was sure different, but it was a lot of fun to be able to put this together. I'm happy with what we did.
I am too. I'm really glad I got to work on this project. And that's it for our show. We'll see you next year.